If you've ever thought, I want to learn a language, but I don't know which one to pick, I get it. I'm a polyglot and I've tried language learning the hard way. In school, when you're not motivated and the language feels cut off from your real life. And the easy way, when the language means something to you and is related to what you already know. Probablemente no sea una gran sorpresa que la forma más fácil funcione mejor. There are a million good reasons to learn a language. But if you're not sure where to start, why not choose a language that's naturally more familiar so you can feel progress fast and actually enjoy the process? So here are the 5 languages that tend to feel easiest for English speakers, backed by science and informed by own experience learning 6 languages. Portuguese can feel surprisingly friendly for English speakers because you'll spot familiar vocabulary through shared Latin roots. A informação é importante. Even if you've never studied Portuguese, you can probably guess what that means. The spelling to sound patterns and common word families become recognizable pretty quickly. The US Foreign Service Institute classifies Portuguese as one of the easiest languages to learn for English speakers, estimating that it would take around 550 class hours to achieve professional working proficiency. And one bonus, Brazilians are one of the funniest and most influential social media users in the world. So you'll have a good reason to keep learning. Netherlands is relatief simpel voor Engelstaligen. Dutch is famously close to English, often described as sitting between English and German. There are lots of familiar looking words and structures for English speakers. We hebben een serieus probleem. Mijn vader is een goede man. Though, as you may have noticed, pronunciation can be spicy. Like if you want to describe something as grayish, veel success. But remember, you don't need perfect pronunciation to communicate. Plus, Dutch speakers are famously excellent English learners. By some metrics, the most proficient English as a foreign language learners in the world. So people would probably be able to help you out when you're struggling with new words. Swedish has many of the same English-friendly advantages. It has a lot of cognates, it has a relatively approachable grammar, and pretty familiar structures.
The musical eller en popopera kalori.
Once your ear adapts to one Scandinavian language, the whole region starts sounding less like noise and more like patterns. Norwegian especially feels surprisingly familiar to English speakers. It's Germanic like English, so the structure and a lot of vocabulary are pretty easy to pick up. You can probably translate. Kan du hjälpa mig? Grammar is relatively simple. There's only one form of each verb per tense, for example. In fact, the US State Department estimates that there are no languages native English speakers can learn quicker than Norwegian. Though it's worth noting, they're talking about specific circumstances where learners can devote intensive classroom time to language acquisition. That's not always the case in the real world. And that's why Spanish is my #1 recommendation as the easiest language to learn for English speakers. Not because it's the simplest language to learn, but because it's the easiest language to learn in real life. The State Department actually qualifies Spanish as slightly harder than some of the languages I've already mentioned. But again, that's assuming a very specific approach where you're in a classroom all day for weeks on end, with extrinsic motivation tied to your career. Here's why Spanish wins in practice for almost everyone watching this video. Está por todas partes. You can hear it in music, shows, podcasts, your neighborhood, travel, work. So you get practice without even trying. The United States actually has roughly the same number of Spanish speakers as Spain. So estadounidenses have plenty of opportunities to hear the language. Y por supuesto, mis amigos de Inglaterra pueden coger un vuelo corto a España. Y lo hacen a menudo. If you like music, pick a Spanish song and play it while you're cleaning. If you like TV, watch 5 minutes with Spanish captions and catch the phrases people repeat. Check out these videos for some recommendations on which shows to watch, depending on what you like. La pronunciación es constante. What you see is usually what you say with Spanish spelling, so speaking confidence grows fast. Gato. Comida. Plato. Cocina. Hay muchos vínculos de vocabulario. English has a huge amount of Latin-based vocabulary, so you'll recognize more Spanish words than you might expect. Necesario. Necessary. Diferente. Different. Posible. Possible. Popular. Popular. Música. Music. Esther actually made a video that teaches you 10,000 Spanish words in 7 minutes based on these links. You can check it out up here. If you do want to learn Spanish, you're in the right place. Subscribe and turn on the notifications if you want to stop thinking about learning Spanish, but actually start doing it. You won't get fluent in a week, but the sooner you start speaking and listening to the language, the more motivated you'll be. Es muy divertido y merece la pena.